Welcome back to Drum Corps Concept Design 101, where you can design your own drum corps show. We'll teach you the underlying principles of production design and storytelling, found in film, theater, television, music videos, opera, and rock concerts. You know, the professional arts? That's right, these concepts apply not just to drum corps shows, but to every performing art. Last time we discussed how most designers create a show. They select the music, arrange it, develop a theme, develop an arc of action, pywire a drill, find a title, and develop props and costumes. But the truth is, those steps can happen in any order, once you get good at it, but every element you add to your show must support the other elements. Let's talk more specifically about how design elements support each other with this second lesson in the series, Cohesion.
Cohesion is the unity of elements around a central subject and theme.
As we discussed in the first video, all elements of the show tie into the main subject or theme, like spokes on a wheel. The drill forms, costumes, marching style, music, props, characters, choreography, and sets all tie in. Let's compare two shows that claim to have a cohesive design, where all the elements allegedly tie together around a central theme. One show is a true thematic masterpiece, and the other is a complete fraud, claiming to be cohesive, but it's really random. Examine the show with a designer's eye, look past the incredible performances, and analyze each element in the show design. You decide. Does each element belong? Let's start with the first show, Fellini-esque. Let's examine each element and see if it fits. A film production? Obviously that makes sense, Fellini was a filmmaker. Check. Reel-to-reel film? Makes sense. Flags that are strips of film? Makes sense. Soundtracks from his movies? Yes. Cameras? Yeah. Backstage costume areas, slates, action? Yes. Claudia Cardinal, the actress? Yeah. Actors in their underwear? What the? All tie into the subject of Fellini's chaotic film productions. That's strong cohesion around the subject. A show theme works the same way.
A theme is a pattern of symbols and metaphors around a central concept.
In Fellini-esque, the themes were the chaos and loneliness of the circus as a metaphor for life and the artist's quest for meaning. Let's look at the thematic elements in Fellini-esque and see if they fit. A suicidal limping circus clown saved by a mysterious angel in black. Yes, check. Women seducing you with tambourines when you're trying to direct a film. Yes, check. And an empty director's chair which begs the humanist's question, is there really a God, or do we only have each other? Yes, check. That ties in. A company front headed in the wrong direction. Yes. That's the film director's work gone wrong, as he questions his worth and value. All of these elements tie into the themes of the circus as a metaphor for life, and the artist's quest for meaning, two of Fellini's thematic cornerstones. The Fellini-esque show design proves the value of cohesion.
In the professional world of film, television, and stage, the rule of cohesion is that every element in the show belongs in a primary, secondary, or tertiary way. Each element can be fully explained and justified.
Now, for the sake of comparison, here's a DCI show design with little or no cohesion. Carolina Crowns, it is, claimed to be a deconstructed drum corps show. But was it really? Classic Bach. Wicked the Broadway musical. And a key hose no one, to no one. Sponsored by Vic Firth. Look past the stellar performances and examine the design elements. Judge whether those elements tie together into a theme of deconstruction.
You know they don't.
The broken yard lines are deconstructed. That makes sense. That sets the stage for more deconstruction and chaos. But then what? What else is deconstructed? The next musical arrangements show some deconstruction. Players switch instruments, and that surely ties in. But how is Wicked deconstructed? It's a standard Broadway ballad delivered as written, according to the music clearance contract. That's not deconstructed. The Akiho number was dissonant and abstract, but does that mean it was deconstructed? What was its original form? Or is it deconstructed compared to the other numbers? How do these pieces of music tie together in theme or content? They get progressively more current in style, but is that necessarily deconstructed? No. The final number is a reprise of a classical piece trying to wrap everything up in a neat bow. Are the designers saying at the end it's reconstructed? Why? What's the point? Where was the visual through line that tied it all together? What is the arc of the show? It's unclear. Don't be fooled by the designers' deceptive claim of a theme of deconstruction. Underneath it all, this show was a collection of random arrangements loosely tied together under a false premise. The production, it is, had little cohesion, and many of the random musical selections had no commonality. The ballad, For Good, and the Akiho piece had one common lyric, I knew you, or I know you. That's the thinnest of ties. The music selections had no thematic interconnectedness, and very little to do with a legitimate music deconstruction, despite the fine performances.
Remember, if something doesn't make sense in a show, question it. Ask your designers the questions that emerge. Why is Carolina Crown presenting a Broadway ballad from Wicked, in its original form, in the middle of a show about deconstruction? If you're doing a show on postmodern anti-establishment disruption, maybe don't plunk down in the middle of your show a sugar-coated torch song from Wicked. Why is the title, It Is, so artsy and vague? Who is the character singing in the Akiho piece? Is she the same character from Wicked in the previous number? Is she still a likable protagonist? Or a new character? Why the abrupt change in her tone into no one? Why does the singer disappear after the Akiho piece? Why are there no transitions? And why does the show end with a classical reprise? What's the visual through line? Where are the audience's emotions invested?
The truth is that the theme of deconstruction was a smokescreen by designers to hide from establishing a unified, cohesive subject in this show. Beware of smokescreen show concepts that hide behind chaos and abstraction. Beware of show titles that try to cover up the weak design choices with nonsense phrases like "it is." The designers had no explanation for how the number from Wicked fit in at all. Whenever you hear a vague show concept which uses an abstract title with no meaning, prick up your ears. Take out your bullshit meter. Abstraction is where lazy designers often hide half-baked and underdeveloped show concepts. Now that we've compared two examples around the show requirement of cohesion, let's talk about ranking the elements in your show into three groups: primary, secondary, and tertiary.
Primary elements support the theme directly and should make up the bulk of the show. The audience should instantly get why you selected these elements. Secondary elements are slightly tangential to the theme and should be used sparingly. The audience may not immediately understand the reference and may research it after the show. Tertiary elements are only subtly related to the theme and should be used infrequently as a potent spice and are usually not immediately accessible by the audience. If a show has too many tertiary elements, it begins to appear random and nonsensical, and the show's logic falls apart.
For example, in Cadet's show, Awakening, about statues coming to life, there were many secondary and tertiary elements continually added and subtracted throughout the season. It was difficult for the audience to tell what was important and why. Roman gods dancing in the background. Rodin's The Thinker created in 1880. Gold capes worn by the statues that come to life, perhaps a commentary on the statues becoming selfish in their new human form. Mannequin statues. A female character in a love triangle with both a statue that comes to life and a statue that remains unawakened. Stretch banners tied to the feet. Male statues in full-length side-slit dresses. A platform added to the front sideline and then removed. A murder by a statue that's come to life. Flags with Michelangelo's David, circa 1504 AD. Too much. Designers must decide which elements have primary focus. They must decide what's important according to the theme and the specific point of view of the show. They must edit out secondary and tertiary elements that complicate or confuse the central action. This editing process helps to balance and focus the production. The audience can then hone in on the primary action and meaning, so the term cohesion also applies when the show gets a bit too busy and it's time to pare things down. Now that we've ranked the elements into three groups, let's talk about the most important element in the primary group, music selection. When directors select the music, cohesion is critical. Selecting music cohesively is much more difficult to achieve for a visual show than it is for a sit-down concert, where there is often no explanation for the variety of music played. But a visual production like drum corps is different. There are multiple criteria for picking music for a visual production.
Musical selections must do the following. 1. Tie into the theme. 2. Blend stylistically. 3. Create the show's arc of action. 4. Create the show's arc of emotion. And 5. Create a satisfying ending.
When there's a lack of cohesion, the audience sits there and says, "I don't get it." If something doesn't make sense, think about the theme.
Ask yourself, does each element tie into the theme? Refer to the explanation video by the designer, or politely ask the designer directly, even if they're on vacation or at their own daughter's wedding.
Let's review.
Cohesion. Ties all the elements together, music and visuals. Creates a through line and focus for the show. Proves that you have a unified theme. Proves to the judges that you worked on the show design for more than 2 minutes.
That's it for this episode on Cohesion. Next episode in Concept Design 101? Authenticity. And remember, never perform a show that you don't fully understand. Don't be afraid to hold your designers accountable. See you next time.